Shalom, friends. I'm going to encourage you to fill up seats towards the front. Good to see you. Just me here. Shalom, friends. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for showing up to support our beloved Rabbi Deborah Bronstein, our Rabbi Emerita, as she moves through this time of grief and loss. And as we honor your dear father, Rabbi Herbert Bronstein. We are going to begin with a nigun, a melody without words, and then we're going to move into the service. Ya da 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 ya lai 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 ay yo ay 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 yo ay 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 yo. That's the whole thing. And it just repeats just like that. So I hope that it will be simple for you to pick up. And your syllables don't have to match mine. Ya la 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 ya la 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 yo ay 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 yo ay 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 yo ay 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 yo ay 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 yo ay 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 yo ay 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 yo ay 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 yo ay 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 yo ay 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 yo ay 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 yo ay 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 yo ay 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 yo ay 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 yo ay 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 yo ay 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 yo ay 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 yo ay 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 yo. We're assembled with our friends in the shadow that has fallen in their home. We raise our voices together in prayer to the source of life, asking for comfort and strength. We need light when gloom darkens our home. To whom shall we look if not to the Creator of light? We need fortitude and courage when pain and loss assail us. Where shall we find them, if not in the thought of the one who preserves all that is good from destruction? Who among us has not passed through trials and bereavements? Some bear fresh wounds in their hearts and therefore feel more keenly the kinship of sorrow. Others whose days of mourning are more remote still recall the comfort that sympathy brought their sorrowing hearts. All things pass. All that lives must die. All that we prize is but lent to us, and the time comes when we must surrender it. We are travelers on the same road that leads to the same end. Let's continue on page 4A, and we rise in body or in spirit as we're able. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai yai la la la. Yai yai la la la. Yai la 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 la. Yai 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 la la. Ay 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 da da. Yai la 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 yai la. Yai la la. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. HaMevorach leolam vaed. HaMevorach. HaMevorach leolam vaed. Let's read together on the top of 5A. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, bechokma poteach sha'arim, uvidvuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uven laila, Adonai tzevaot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. On the bottom of 6A, everlasting love you have offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and fulfilling them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. On 8A. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha ve'hayu הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, Adonai Elohechem Emet. So just, I meant to say this before, I've still got a little cough from a cold, and if I stop and we're singing, just keep singing. Okay, cool. So let's turn to page 10a for Mi Chamocha. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot o seifela, nora tehilot o seifela. Malechutecha ראו בניך בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי יפקד אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Let's read together on the top of 11b. Give us a place to rest, O God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence is gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over Jerusalem. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, shomer amo Yisrael la'ad. 12a. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah. ועל מה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה. בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה ויאמרו amen. On page 13a, we are going to go into the tefillah now. We're going to chant the prayers together through page 16a. And then after that, you can continue silently with the prayers in the book or with the prayers of your heart, or you can simply sit in meditation and reflection. And I'll invite you to look particularly at the readings on the left side. They're quite beautiful and quite moving. So we'll continue now from 13a through 16a together, and then we'll go into silent prayer. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei HaKol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Ha'avot V'imahot, U'mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah Rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morit hagashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asorim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Micha mocha bal gevurot, Umido melach, melech memid, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh, v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom, yahalaluch hasela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. we say shalom and not goodbye. For shalom is goodbye and hello and wholeness and peace, all threaded together in one breath. And in one breath, we too say goodbye to a hand to hold, a kiss and a tight embrace. And in the same breath of shalom, we say hello to an ocean of memories and a rush of emotion, gratitude and sorrow, tears and laughter, and trembling and fatigue, all in one breath. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. We are going to take some time now to share memories, and we're going to begin with Rabbi Bronstein is going to share some of her, some words about her father.
So I promise if you come to my house tomorrow or the next day, it'll be a third of the length. Because what happened was I wrote something that our airplane was canceled, and I wrote something in Chicago, and then last night, I just had some thoughts that I needed to add on. So I appreciate your patience with me. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. So all of us in the family were so blessed to get to be with my father before he died. He was in a restful and peaceful state, his breathing easy, his eyes closed. A few people came in to say goodbye. As you know, I tire out early. My sister called me Saturday night, like the whole family got rid of me at a certain point, like, you look too tired, you have to go to bed. On Friday night, my sister called me Saturday night at 1:20 and said that our father had passed away. I asked her if we should go over right away, and she suggested that she and I go together at 4, as the funeral director was coming at 5. We were so struck once again by the peaceful expression on his face. He looked to me like a Chagall chassid. We cried and we talked, and we talked and talked. And at 4:30, the funeral director came in and spoke with us. He spoke about the greatness and kindness and respectfulness of our dad. He talked about himself being a small fry in the world of Chicago Jewish funeral directors, and how my dad really supported him. He was a very traditional Orthodox Jew who decided to start his own business. And my dad kind of brought my family with him and the Reform movement with him. And then he said most senior rabbis in Chicago led the funerals and gave the eulogy, but sent the assistant rabbi out to Arlington Heights, an hour-and-a-half drive from the synagogues. And the assistant would go to the internment at the cemetery. He said our dad was completely different from the rest. He did everything from start to finish to comfort each mourner. The funeral director, David Jacobson, said that that's why he respected our father so much. He also said he himself would be with our family from start to finish. Around 11 a.m., we took a limousine to my dad's congregation. The goal was to arrive at least 15 minutes early before the funeral. As we waited in the front door, we were greeted by all these elderly custodians who kind of shook their heads like that at us to greet us. Again, it was to show that our father had treated people at every level of Jewish work with enormous respect, and that's how they felt toward him. So many people spoke of him as a scholar, which he was, but one person after another described him as a mentor, a role model, and as one who would see them become a rabbi. We received many, many notes, and one of them was from this, he's a MD now, he's a physician on the North Shore of Chicago, but he was a teenager at the synagogue named Lee Friedman, and he led music. He was like, do you remember Noah Harriet? He just poured music out of him, and he would come with my dad and the adult staff members to something called Karav, which means draw near, and it also meant Kilat Harav, the community of the rabbi. And he said, he wrote, "It is impossible to describe the incredible impact your father had upon me. So much of what I value, how I try to live, what I know and enjoy and believe can be attributed to your father, both directly through his words and teaching and behaviors and passion, also indirectly through the programs he established and the leaders he inspired and brought to North Shore Congregation Israel. He shaped my life profoundly. And I am but one of many hundreds of then young Jewish people who can say the same. His brilliance in scholarship and teaching, his ability to help people experience and sense the sacred and holy, his dedication to tradition that he so deftly intertwined with creativity, poetry, and music to produce unparalleled, moving worship services. His ability to motivate large groups, but also to support and lift up individuals. He quotes, he says, he raised a fund of spiritual capital as he guided North Shore Congregation Israel from the relative desert of classical reform to its place as a multifaceted, rich cultural and religious center of progressive Judaism. He could explain a nuanced Talmudic interpretation of a Torah passage while still giving credence to a layperson's thoughts on the line. He sang and he danced, and on Purim, he performed 8 days a week. I get that from him. He extolled the beauty and quiet of nature and reminded us to be attentive to the elegance of a blue heron in flight. He ignited our passion with the words of Rav Nachman of Bratslav, and so much more. I was fortunate to help lead the music for many Karav retreats. Every year I got to share an intimate and spiritual few moments with your dad as the staff and the Karavniks readied for a human chain. And what that was the kids, the teenagers, stood out in the dark, and the staff, who were all volunteers from the synagogue, and my dad would stand and make a chain, and each young person would come through the chain, and we whispered something special about them in their ears. So he said, your dad and I would be alone in the lobby of the bayit as we waited in the darkness for the karavniks to come by one. He would build a fire, and I would sing Boi Ruach, a mystic, rich melody, day after day, year after year, like words without a melody. Come Ruach, to me, meaning Ruach Elohim. Each year, each time, it was transcendent. With your father was always how I felt closest to the sacred, the other, the holy, to what really matters. And he inspired me then, and he will always inspire me. What a magnificent life. My love and thoughts are with you at this difficult time. What I want to say to Lee and to you all is this: he gave a superlative description of my father, particularly as a rabbi. I would add on, as a father, he was particularly passionate and intense, and his spirit touched my own in every way. He would read while weeping early Israeli poetry about massacres and pogroms in Eastern Europe, but also about the beauty of nature. He was sometimes fierce, and he was sometimes poetic. He had a temper, and at the same time, an amazing gentleness and creativity. I remember rooting a pussy willow bough with him, and then, after many weeks, planting it and watching it grow. Similarly, we planted little bulbs of lily of the valley in memory of my grandma Lily, or Leah. I always wanted to do the same in my own backyard, but lilies of the valley are poisonous to dogs, so I just kept them in my memory. My dad and I went bird walking early in the morning and later in the day as the world woke up and went to sleep. My father taught me about wonder. If I can do anything for others, it would be to pass on that loving beauty and wonder, the aching, heartfelt love of poetry, and the sharing of hope. I want to thank you all for being here with me tonight.
Thank you, Deborah, Rabbi Bronstein. Can I give you a hug? Open it up for some other folks, those of you who knew Rabbi Herbert Bronstein, who'd like to share a few words. I have this mic here you can use. It's a streaming, so, or you could come up to the mic, or we can just pass this around. I'm gonna say just, I had the honor of working for 2 years right after cantorial school at North Shore Congregation Israel. Rabbi Bronstein was already retired at that point, but I got to see his legacy and the amazing community that he helped to build, and the strong, beautiful community that he was a part of creating, and that stayed with me, to see such an incredible person who helped to build such an incredible community. So that was a real blessing, and I just wanted to share that. So. Anybody? Yeah. Oh, okay. We'll do this or there? Okay.
Deborah, I think my claim to fame.
Oh, that mic.
Oh. My claim to fame in this congregation has been that I was on the search committee, and it was Midge, yes, you too, and maybe some others that were here, and I feel very grateful that you came here. But in that time, when we had our first Shabbat, and you came and we welcomed you, your parents were here. And so your mother sang beautifully melodies that we all learned differently. Some of us can't carry a tune, so we were in awe of what she sang. And your father, it's interesting that what you shared, because I was going to share something very similar. I saw his sensitivity and his passion, and I saw a little bit of that temper when he was sharing. And what he said to the congregation, and I will never forget that, he said, "Do not take advantage of my daughter." She does not understand her own boundaries. She does not know when it's enough is enough. So I am asking you as her father to make sure that you take care of her, which I hope we always have taken care of you. But I could see that passion that he had and that love for you. But he was strong. He was a very strong man, and when he gave his drash, you could sense it. So you were a lucky woman to be his daughter, and I feel very fortunate that I had this opportunity to know your parents. I'm sorry for your loss, you know that.
I've been a member a lot longer than Rabbi Bronstein, so I was here when she came, and I had the pleasure and the privilege of meeting her parents. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Of meeting her parents many times when they visited, and it was always a joy and a great learning experience and a great soul-enriching time. And one of the things that I loved, and I really did love her father, is that he didn't try to take over her space. You know, this was her congregation, and he was here as dad or papa or whatever you called him. And he and he would always, give a Dvar Torah or a Drash or something. And of course, then he was the other Rabbi Bronstein. And he was real comfortable with that. And I was so amazed that he always remembered who I was, which I was astounded because, he was coming into a strange place, or maybe it was the place that he'd been to once or twice, and he would come over to me and say, "Sarah Jane, Shabbat Shalom, it's so good to see you," whatever. And I was just blown away that he was so he was so modest and so kind, and he just radiated warmth and kindness, real kindness. But he was really smart, and you had to think about what you were going to say if it had anything at all to do with Torah or Talmud or anything. So he was just wonderful, and you were very lucky to have him as your father, but he was really lucky to have you as his daughter. No, it's true, because I think everybody wants their kids to follow in their footsteps, whether they're a lawyer or a plumber or whatever it is. And you followed in his footsteps, and you've brought so much of what he had to us, and continue as part of the congregation to do that for us. And I know how proud he was of you. When he admonished us to take care of you and not take advantage, he was also saying, you've got a superstar here. Don't screw it up. So, anyway.
I'm going to talk right behind you because I don't understand. Hi. So your parents would come visit often, and I remember. So you were hired in '94, and I was hired officially in '97. But I knew you when I was here for your audition service in 1994. But then we officially began working together in the years following. And when your parents would visit, we were both really nervous. You were like, okay, they're coming, right? We planned really hard. We worked really hard. And I'll never forget. So this was like the 90s, I don't know, 90-something, so a million years ago. And we did services and, Shabbat services, and your parents were in the kahal in the community and complimented us both. And then I remember you said afterwards, you're like, but my dad did say you could look up sometimes from your music. So, yeah, I didn't know, I couldn't look up at the time. I didn't know what I was doing. Anyway, I love you. I'm so sorry for your loss. And I know that you have been an incredible, incredible daughter that has taken deep and beautiful care of both of your parents and your father in his final time. And you have all of our love and support. And I hope that you know how fiercely you cared for him.
Rabbi Bronstein, I think I'm the surprise entry here. I think we all know what a small world the Jewish community is. And many of you know that my wife and I, Nanette and I, actually were with our Rabbi Green in Atlanta before we moved here. Well, what you don't know maybe is that I'm from Highland Park. Highland Park is right next to Glencoe. And when I was reading the information, I saw that the donations were going to North Shore Congregation. And I have to admit that I never put the two together, that Rabbi Bronstein and Rabbi Bronstein were related. While I was not a member of North Shore Congregation, and that's before they even moved to that beautiful synagogue on the lake, I have fond memories of my niece and nephew's bar and bat mitzvah. And your father actually led both of those services. And I have fond memories of the rapport he had, not only with the young people, but with the whole congregation. And being a member of the Jewish community of the North Shore, I can attest to what a wonderful thing he did with really developing that temple and building it out and just making it such a wonderful gathering place for the Reform movement. So as someone who had the opportunity to experience your father as a rabbi and knowing the impact he had on the community, we all together mourn the loss with you.
My appreciation of your father is related to a picture I took of him when he came hiking with me, well beyond where you wanted me to take him. And it wasn't my choice, it was his decision to go on up that ridge further. And It was a delightful day. It was a beautiful day, just on the western edge of Boulder. And the picture is here in my phone where I can't find it. I know I got you a copy. Good. So his legacy for me was definitely going out and appreciating the exposure on that ridge. I was also on the search committee